Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me for my Java Flurries series. Today we're going to be making a flurry card, and I'm using this stamp set from my stash. It's an older one, and unfortunately I don't know the name, but any kind of flourish that you have would work. I also had grabbed 3 snowflakes. This is kind of like a universal card. Any kind of flourish would work, and any kind of snowflakes would work for it also. Now we're going to do some stamping on a piece of watercolor cardstock. I took the largest flourish that was in my set, and I'm just using my VersaFine ink, and I'm going to stamp it all over this panel. Now, in case you're interested in replicating the card, I will leave a link below to a real pretty flourish that I had found for you guys, just in case you were interested. But I'm just going to stamp it all over my watercolor cardstock, and then I'm going to go in with my 3 different size snowflakes. I did try this same effect using my Versamark ink with some black embossing powder, and I think because the watercolor cardstock is a little bit textured, my black embossing powder just got everywhere. So I found this is the best way to create this card, was with my VersaFine ink and then clear embossing powder. But I really loved the outcome. I wanted to do something different. Typically, of course, snowflakes are white, but I thought if I could make a black snowflake, I just wanted to know what it would look like. But the outcome turned out really elegant, and I thought I would share it with you. So I have all my images stamped. Next, I'm going to take some this is actually crystal clear embossing powder from Nuvo. I'm going to go over the entire panel here with my clear embossing powder, just making sure everything is covered. We're going to do a little bit of ink smishing for this card, and this card was super duper simple. This would actually be real fun to mass produce, I guess. Very simple, and I kept it that way because I just like the elegance of the black with it. Now I just melted all that clear embossing powder, and I think that looks so pretty. Now I'm going to grab my craft mat, and then we're going to use some Distress Oxide inks for this panel. I have 3 different colors here. I'm going to use Antique Linen, Peeled Paint, and Broken China. And I'm just going to smush them on my craft mat. And then to add a little bit of shimmer, I have some Ranger Perfect Pearls. This is a powder. I'm just adding a little bit of water. But the Perfect Pearls are powder, so just using the back end of my paintbrush, I'm going to scoop out a little bit of that on my craft mat. And the color of this is Biscotti, and it's going to give it a real creamy, pearly shimmer, but it'll be really subtle, which I really liked. I'm just mixing it in with the oxide ink a little bit. Now we're going to do the smishing. Now I'm not very good at the smishing, but this one was super easy. So if you're not good at smishing, I think you should try this one, because the colors I just blended really well together. But I did use my heat gun, and I just dried it up just for filming purposes. And you can barely see the little bit of shimmer on there, but it really does look very pretty and elegant. Okay, now we're going to stamp our sentiment. Any sentiment you have would work. I grabbed one from my stash that says "Sending you warm thoughts." I'm taking a piece of black cardstock, and I'm just going to use my Versamark ink and stamp my sentiment towards the bottom here. And then I'm going to go in with my Glacier White embossing powder from Nuvo and go over my sentiment. That way my sentiment's nice and vivid and bright white. And again, I'm just going to take my heat gun and melt that embossing powder. Now in my stash, I have a sentiment die, and I'll leave a link below to where you can check this one out. It's an MFT die, and I'm not sure if it was free with 60 or not, but regardless, I'll find it for you, and I'll leave a link below for you. But there's our sentiment. Now I'm going to take a stitch rectangle die to cut out my panel. The panel for this will be 3.5 by 4 3/4. So it's going to leave me about a 1/2 inch edge on my card base. I'm just going to add some fun foam behind this panel and cover the entire back. I'm just going to use my tape runner to secure it. The fun foam that I use is always adhesive back. It's just easier for me. And then for my card base, I'm going to use something different. I'm going to use a black card base. This is an A2 size card base. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm just going to place my panel right in the center there. And I think my sentiment will look great there, so I'm going to grab some foam squares and I'm just going to pop it up. On the left, I'm going to double up on the foam squares. That way it balances my sentiment nice and even. And then we're just going to place our sentiment down towards the bottom. I'm going to trim off any excess that I have, just a little bit. And then the perfect pearls, like I said, give a real mild shimmer to the card, but of course I got to add a little bit more. So in my stash I have these are large sequins. I think they're about 6 millimeter big. So they're big and they're iridescent, so they're going to pick up any color that's behind on that background panel. So it's really picking up the greens and the blues, but it still adds a little bit of a subtleness to it. But that's it. That's my card for today. Now at the end, I wanted to try using white embossing powder to see what the outcome of the white embossing powder would be, but I have to say I really like the black better than the white. I'd like to know what you would think. Here's a picture of both the black and the white. I think the boldness of the black just looks so pretty. But very fast, easy, simple cards. I wish you a very Merry Christmas. And thank you so much for all your wonderful comments. And we will see you again real soon. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.